Going to run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to PRL. It's time for the penultimate round of the season, season 12. It's been a very good season, the tight championship all the way through, but we've made our way back from the Middle East to the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgium Grand Prix. Can the title be won tonight? We will find out. You can see the calendar on the left-hand side. We've only got this race and Silverstone to go next week before we have everything wrapped up and confirmed for not just season 12, but for the F1 23 game. My name's Darragh, Thacker, joined alongside by Ben Sapsford in the commentary box, pushing all the buttons and making it look pretty. And Ben, Spa, it's not the easiest track to get a championship done if you're wanting to be able to win it here. But if you can win it here, it gives you that extra little confidence going into the final round, and you're not too worried, are you?
Yeah, it's certainly a track that poses its own unique challenge on the calendar. I think one of the, in fact, if not the longest in the F1 roster in terms of just outright race distance. So it's a grueling circuit, especially on qualifying. You see a lot of drivers make a couple of key mistakes. So, for instance, say Pouon, final sector, and there is a lot of opportunity to get it wrong. But if you can get it right, you are onto a big winner.
Yeah, you are. But of course, it's one of the most difficult tracks to get right every single time. Of course, the longest in terms of length of track, and nearly in terms of, or actually, no, I think it is in terms of the length of the lap in terms of time. So it is difficult to get it all together to make sure you hit all the apexes in qualifying, particularly. And when we've got 8 points for pole, going down to 1 point for eighth in qualifying. In the penultimate round of the championship, those points could be mightily important, and they could swing a championship either way. So it's going to be important. But talking of the championship, Ben, the top two, Scarenzi and Raben, are only split by 5 points. So you'd say it's unlikely for one of them to win the title this evening, but it's still possible.
Stranger things have happened on the racing circuit. So, of course, a 5-point gap is going to still be a little bit of a cushion, but looking at it realistically, that can be just a single position's worth of difference. And given these two are more or less in a league of their own, they've got a massive 34-point gap down to That Sim Racer in third on the standings. I would say that the likelihood of them finishing out of the podium is somewhat slim. I mean, looking at the attendance and looking at some of the drivers as we're getting ourselves prepared to jump in trackside, things are looking like we have got quite the heated roster joining us this evening.
Yeah, it was 22 laps of Spa that we will be delving into. A safety car can take off 2 or 3 of those. So it's one of those tracks where you've got to make your moves count um, really early on, because otherwise you might find yourself stuck in a safety car, in a safety car period, and then in a train, and then you don't really know what to do on strategy. So getting a good qualifying, being able to have that prerogative is going to be crucially important for a lot of these drivers, and particularly for those guys in the championship contention. A few of the other guys further back here, they won't be looking for the championship. They're just going to be looking for some pride. So they can be some of the most dangerous drivers, can't they, if you're going to be a championship contender?
Yep, and they are going to be drivers that you're going to have to keep an eye out for, going to have to watch your back. Everyone is gunning for glory tonight. It's as simple as that. Everyone wants to make this round count. Of course, penultimate round, sorry, on the calendar, and that means you're running out of opportunities to get some crucial points. I think the scary thing here is that drivers are going to be pretty nervous. I think that it's very easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment, and especially with those points opportunities rapidly dwindling, we might see some drivers who maybe get a little bit overzealous, and what you don't want to happen is for that sort of nerve to come out on the track. So the winner here will not necessarily be the one who is out and out the uber fastest driver, but it might go to the one that's just able to keep a cool head. And that's the beauty of a place like Spa. So we take a look at the quick track map just before we jump track side. 7 kilometers, in fact 4 meters over the FIA grade 1 limit. Little factoid of the day there, but 19 corners, and you can see on the elevation chart there, absolutely sort of undulating. It's kind of like a roller coaster in motion in a way.
Of course it is, because you go up to the top of the hill at the top at Les Combes, and then you dive back down through the second section. You can see it there, that you really do get, the mountain and then the valley part of the racetrack. So I think this is going to be an interesting race, and exciting that it's this close to the end of the season. We don't often see Spa being one of the tracks which could be a title decider, do we? So this is going to be exciting, and I think 22 laps are going to be really treated here in PRL, and this could be critically important for the championship battle. But we'll have to see who comes out on top. We're going to have about an hour to wait until that, because Spa can be a relatively quick race. It just depends on safety car intervention. But our 18-minute short qualifying, I believe, will start soon. It's going to be important, especially with those 8 points, because let's just say, for example, Scorenzi manages to take pole here and Rabin finishes qualifying in 9th. That 5-point gap becomes a 13-point gap, and all of a sudden, you're really looking at a very good chance for Scorenzi to have one hand on that title this evening.
Yeah, and say one hand on the title is the position that you want to be in. Now, I'm looking at some of these drivers and what kind of opportunities they can afford themselves. I'm looking at what these drivers have done in the past in terms of sort of track-to-track performances. I'm sort of looking back at some of the feature race opportunities that they've sort of lent themselves, and the big thing that I'm seeing is that we've seen a sort of mix of drivers. We've seen drivers who have had real sort of winner, outstanding runs, and then you've had a couple of others who have just sort of consistently brought in those points, and I think those clashes of dynamics are going to come to a head here.
Yeah, they are. So it's going to be interesting. This is definitely going to be interesting, just to see how it all pans out in qualifying, just about getting underway here. So lots of drivers in this one are going to be fighting over some important points. Even the likes of Basil, reigning champion in the Aston Martin, he'll be hoping for a little bit of honour as we work our way through. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting race, definitely so. And with only 13 cars, it's not the biggest of grids, but we have all the important hitters there. Scorenzi, Rabin, and that's Racer, who's still in with a shout.
Yep, and they are going to be, of course, the drivers to watch here. Forgive me, just fixing one brief technical hiccup, and then we'll be back trackside. But it is going to be a bit of a toss-up, I think. I think drivers are going to initially try and get a little bit of a feel for where they currently stand in terms of the race circuit, in terms of where they see their pace landing. And the big thing that I am curious of is who is going to be the first to set a benchmark, and who is going to be the one to, of course, be the one to break that. See what they can do.
I mean, yeah, it's true, because of course you've got to make sure that you can get everything you can out of the car pretty early on. So and you don't really want to make too many mistakes in this session. So if you are the likes of Raven and Scarenzi, you want to get that banker on the board pretty early on. Of course, at Spa, you don't get too many shots at a lap time, do you? I mean, you're really pushing it to get 3 runs in with the length of track that you do have. 2 very easy to do. You really want to make sure that you get that first banker lap time in, because otherwise you're really going to be struggling, aren't you, to improve on that as the session progresses.
Yeah, and as the session progresses, we are going to see a mixture of different strategies, I think. We're going to see, of course, everyone just try and get a lap on the boards. That banker lap, psychologically, as a driver, it does wonders for you because you know you have that safety net. Having a time on the board by default will push you much further up the grid than maybe you otherwise might expect. So we're going to see everyone just try and get something on the board, and then we will start to see those times drop. I think a few drivers will play it a little bit more conservatively and see maybe they're P5, P6, they want to have a more consistent race. They're not going to overdo it, overcook it, because remember, there is also going to be the prospect of their tyre allocations carrying through into the race. And if they want to run soft tyres, they're going to have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true as well. Of course, it'd likely to be one stop here at Spa. You know, you're not likely to go for a 2-stop, very long pit lane here. I mean, you lose quite a bit of time by taking that pit lane, and you also don't gain too much time, on a new set of tyres. So I'll have to see how this one pans out, because I think we're probably looking at a couple of drivers might try a soft medium, but a medium hard likely to be the majority's decision. I think it's fair to say 30.2 first sector for crew steamers. The first time that we've had through the opening sector, it remains to be seen whether it's gone for a bit of a straight line setup or a setup in the corners, but I think that might become a little bit apparent as we progress, Ben.
Yeah, we'll see some of the sector times and where things are shaking out. I think we're going to see a lot of dominance in the first sector with the more high speed, the top end focus setups, of course, having slightly shallower wings. Maybe the car a little bit more tightly sprung to keep that stability at high speeds. And then for the twistier sections, we're going to see a bit higher wings and maybe a little bit more of things like toe in, get your car sort of gripped up, and sometimes we see a little bit of variation in setup also for temperature control. Looking at the tyres, you can get them to scrub a little bit if you're struggling to keep the heat up. Depends on the driving style, but steamers, crew steamers here, coming out to the end of Sector 2 and into Sector 3. Going to be firing it down through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane here. Heavy in through 8th gear, jumping all the way down to 2nd. He's going to let the car sort of ride through and then power out on the exit. Straightens up nice and sharp, and there's a 43.359. That's our initial time of the session. And we have, say, CJQ, PLR driver, going to be coming around the bus stop. Now, what's he going to be doing? Is he going to be challenging that pole time? Not quite, 45.3.
Yeah, TJQ, normally a Tier 2 driver, but stepping up into Tier 1 this evening. He often drives in the McLaren, so a new suit for him in the red. And we'll have to see if he can really take a duck towards the Tier 1, or whether he might just be getting some practice in for tomorrow night's race. Traffy, not with the best line through that fast stop chicane, and he's going to find himself a 43.4, a little bit off of crew steamers, but did go faster in that final sector. So good stuff for him, but definitely work to do. Mini on a medium tyre. Ambitious, I think it's fair to say, to be on a medium at Spa in qualifying, because like I said before, you're not going to get too many runs in, but let's see how it works out for him. That's Sim Racer. He needs the time. He goes fastest, and by quite a chunk, Ben.
Looking mighty rapid there from that Sim Racer. Crazy enough, 43 flat from Rapid Mini on a set of medium tyres. You don't really see that in qualifying, and that makes me a little bit nervous, because if that's the pace on the medium, imagine what we can do full tilt on a soft. We're on board with Scarenzi now, coming out in through the second sector here, down into Puon. We're going to see how he handles the line here. Jumps up on the curves, a little bit of a wide arc, has no choice but to let off. You can hear him just slightly peeling off the accelerator, jumping back on. Now down through campus, and then into the end of Sector 2. A little bit of traffic, but you can see them, sportsmanship being shown. It's going to be peeling off to one side. Sector time so far looking fairly strong here. Current sector time could see Scarenzi up into one of the podium spots.
Yeah, and of course, the points are going to matter to him. 8th pole, as we said, 1 for 8th as well. So this is going to be important for the Haas driver as he runs his way up towards the line through the final couple of corners. What can he do? Scorenzi, championship protagonist. He may be able to wrap it up this evening, but what's his time going to be? It's a 41.6, and he's 16 thousandths off of what that Tim Racer put out. But those two drivers, they are clearing away the top two drivers in the field at the moment because no one is even close to touching them.
Yeah, and league of their own right now. So Simracer, Scorenzi, they're both currently sat 16 milliseconds off of each other. Rabin's going to be coming on to the final couple of corners here. Looking pretty good on the time. All it matters is the exit and a very strong run at that. 41.1. The Sauber car is going to be jumping up straight to the top of the timesheet. MZ Place is going to be the next one, but unfortunately an invalidation. So I think they're going to be setting up here for the next run.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they need to get times on the board. I mean, MZ, as you can see, invalidated the lap time. He won't be improving or setting any kind of time here, and does peel into the pit lane here at Spa. We've got 9 times on the board, quite a wide range of lap time, 4 seconds between them. Really, rather Natsim Racers and Scorenzi, they are far and away the top 3 in this session at the moment, and you'd expect that with them being the top 3 in the championship. So, you know, not necessarily a big surprise as we work our way through nearly halfway through the session already. Rapid Connor, though, will be the next driver on lap time on in his McLaren car. On McLaren, they need some points on the board, and they none of them to the lap time yet.
All right, so now we look as we come through to the final 10 minutes here of Quali. We've got 4 drivers yet to set a time. MZ Plays, Rapid Connor, Uriel, Bazal, and Oliver James. They all need to get something on the board. Rapid Connor's going to be the next one to take a stab at it. And now it's going to be, unfortunately, a little bit of over-rotation. And he's just going to lose the rear. Coming out through turn 10. He's going to get himself back on track. But yeah, the last thing you want to do through Brissell. Unfortunate for him there. He's going to have to go again. But his McLaren teammate is going to be stepping up to the plate in their stead. And let's see what they can do here.
Yeah, Oliver James having the best of seasons so far in round 9 of 10 that we are in, but he's looking for a little bit of pride come the end of this season. And can he get a time on the board, a good time on the board here at Spa? First sector split is going to give us a 30.2, so mid-range, not too fast, not too slow. Probably got about medium amounts of downforce on that car. Works his way through now. Down in towards Bruxelles corner. It's difficult downhill, 180-degree rotation of the car. But if you can get it through there, you're going to fly through no name. This flick left hand. As you make your way down the hill, he nearly puts it in the wall. Somehow keeps it valid. But going into Pouon, I think he's going to be trying to just recover from his heart skipping a beat there. That was a massive moment.
Yeah, and say a little bit hot in the mouth moment there for him. And the last thing you want in a situation like this, because this is the scenario where you need to have confidence in the car. You need to have full confidence in your driving and sort of be able to lean on that car a little bit. It's scary sometimes when you lose the rear. Even so much as 10 degrees of slip angle is going to be all you need to lose it. CJQ is going to be retiring out of the session with just 8 minutes to go here, so he's not going to be having a chance to go for another time. He could see himself relegated to the bottom of the board by the time these other 4 make it through. Oliver James, next one up to the plate, and it's going to be P4, 42.7, solid run in there.
Yeah, solid lap time, and he'll be pleased to get a time on the board. Let's see what anybody else can do. I mean, being in P4, best of the rest at the moment, definitely a good result for a banker lap time, albeit over a second of Scorenzi. I mean, the top 3 really do look worryingly fast here this evening, but you know, it's still time and still room for some of these guys to improve on their lap times. It'll be interesting just to see how this one will pan out. Basil, having a look at Basil, he's invalidated his lap time. He might be going again. Remains to be seen whether he'll come into the pit lane or just stay out for one more lap. 7 minutes 20 here. I mean, you have enough time to come in and come back out again, obviously, but not to do another 2 full runs. So, realistically, I think this is going to be a decision he takes now, whether he does the lap right now, and that might be his session, or he comes into the pit lane, gets on a new set of boots, and maybe has a couple of stabs at it.
Yep, and it's going to be sort of time being of the essence. Bazal coming in back to the pit lane. MZ Plays is going to be the next one, pushing here. And a pretty decent Sector 1 time. That's going to be pushing him up potentially against the podium runners. So let's see if we can keep this pace down here as we head into Brussels, keeping it tight to the apex, riding the curb a little bit there before jumping back out, swinging yourself through, and then into Pouon here. Is going to be the sort of big lateral test of grip. Keep it as firm as you can. You can see him just absolutely planted. A little bit slower entry speed, but makes up for it with a very good exit.
Yeah, see if he can pull this lap off all the way through. I mean, he'd love the time on the board, but he needs to make sure he hooks up this final sector. Of course, not an easy final sector in the grand scheme of things. You've just got that acceleration zone through Paul Frere, and then you're running all the way down through Blanchemont to the bus stop chicane. But MZ Plays, again, Aston Martin, no time on the board yet. They really would love to have something to look at, something as a marker to really try and progress themselves to. So what can MZ do? Through the final couple of corners at the bus stop chicane, just trying to get that power down on the exit as he runs his way through up towards the line. The DRS is open. MZ Plays. He can only go P8, but he's quite close in with a few of the other drivers. D. Bowyer is not too far in front, but albeit he's 2 seconds off of the pace at this stage.
Yep, and a few other drivers are going to be potentially looking for an opportunity to get some runs in here. Screnzi, for instance, they're going to be setting themselves up for another go, although seemingly burning a bit of ERS here on the what seems to be either an abandoned run or a second outlap of sorts. They're going to have to get on the recharge pretty fast. So I think they want to potentially get themselves into pole position.
Yeah, I mean, you've not got long in the session now. It's Screnzi going to come in and then try it once again on a new set. Does have another set of soft tyres at their disposal. We'll see if that will make any difference. It's a Rapid Mini, of course, out of the session on the medium. So this lap time could be quite an improvement and maybe stick it up to the top 3 here.
Yeah, and at the current pace that he's running, granted, he is maybe looking a little bit shaky coming out of Brussels and into no name. Through Pouon now. Keeping good pace here, I gotta say. Seems to be very confident in the car right now. And we'll see the relative split coming into the end of Sector 2. We see a local yellow coming out very briefly because I believe that is that sim racer just losing the car on the outlap. But a second up, that's going to put Rapid Mini in P4, provided he can bring the pace home. A little bit further as well. That could even get him down into one of the podium spots. But let's see here. Blanchemont into the bus stop chicane. Last send, last reach, diving down on the brakes. You can see really sort of short shifting, but despite the improvement, Rapid Mini goes in.
I think Rapid Mini likely to think that he can improve a little bit more if he goes again, but that is a risk, isn't it? Because he had that time in his back pocket if he just crossed the line, but clearly thinks that he can go even faster and would like to try again. He knows that if he finished that lap time, he wouldn't be able to set another one. So maybe just rolling the dice, having a bit of a gamble, and trying his best to put himself maybe onto the pole position. We'll wait and see. Regardless, it's going to be that sim racer who he's had a good session, he's had a good season, but he missed last week, and that has really cost him quite a few points in his championship challenge. And he'll need to get in and out pretty quickly if he wants to get a better time on the board. But P2 at the moment still would be 7 points, but I don't think it would be enough for his championship.
Yeah, and a few other cars are going to be looking to get some improvements here. I think Rabin's gone out for another run, but we only have 2 minutes 50 left. So, in effect, this is where we start to see drivers now lock in their final runs. We're not going to see much more improvement from here on out short of the final burst. At this stage, if you are not out within the 2-minute mark, you might as well consider your qualifying over. So, drivers are going to have to make that judgment call. And they're running out of time to do it. About 30 seconds on the clock before that shutter comes down. But Rabin now very strong here. Looking good on the lap. And a 41.044 is going to be an improvement of almost a 1/10 of a second. He's going to stretch that gap to officially over half a second now. And it's quite a tough act to follow for many out on this field.
It is. And we've seen how the gaps have increased as we've gone through the session. And with Rabin, that Sim Racer and Scorenzi being the only drivers within a second, or that Sim Racer and Scorenzi being the only drivers within a second of Rabin. So it really just does show how quick those guys have been in this session and how dangerous they're going to be in the race, particularly if we go safety car free. It's going to be good for them in terms of picking up all the points. Not going to be that Sim Racer who needs to be gaining lots and lots of points on the other two. Deboya about to arrive into pit path, the chicane, with more names than overtakes in its time, but we'll see how Deboya can improve in this middle sector. If he can, middle sector split will flick up just as he approaches Paul Frere, nearly a tenth, nearly finding a tenth. He may be able to go ahead of Rapid Mini if he can, but we both know that, well, we all know that Rapid Mini has got that time in his back pocket if he goes on a set of softs again.
You know, I do love, say, the many names that could come out, say, turn 14 and 15, to say you got Piff Paff, Campus, Ping Pong, righty tighty, lefty slidey, as I think I heard one time. There's plenty of names to give it, but it's a tough chicane to get right, and one who has got this lap right has going to be Deboya. Down into 42.9, that is going to see him in 6th position. Now, with Tintoretto and Oliver James now quitting out of the session also, they feel pretty comfortable in their P4 and P5, but this simultaneously gives an opportunity for the likes of the rest of the field, like Crew Steamers, for instance, who is just starting on a lap now. It's going to be a crucial shot for them to get something on that board. Rabin is going to be retiring out confident in the 141.0, so now we have just about 10 cars left on this field. So 9 cars, in fact, are left on the circuit. And for those who are still out there, there is 10 seconds until the checkered flag falls. So in the case of Trappy, if he wants to go for another run, mind you, I think this is going to be his lock-in. He's on very good pace, and there you go. Checkered flag has fallen. Trappy coming up to the line now, looking very solid on the pace. What's it going to be for him? It's going to be a massive jump, 0.8 of a second exactly. That is going to splice Tintoretto and Oliver James and put him in P5.
Yeah, it's a good improvement for him, but of course there are drivers still to arrive. One of the final drivers, I believe, will be that Sim Racer. Actually, no, he will be the final driver to reach the line, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, because he could be the one to ruin the hopes and dreams of Rabin or Scorenzi or anybody else. Crew Steamers up towards the final couple of corners in his Williams car. Let's see, 43.3 is his current lap time, 2 and a bit seconds off of the pace. A few tenths will shoot him up a few positions, and there we go, big improvement. Jumped up to P4. Great stuff for Crew Steamers.
Yeah, so an entire second there, so not to be underestimated as Crew Steamers here. He's done a really good job, capitalised on the situation to perfection, I'd say, as he's got a few more cars now coming through. MZ Plays is going to be coming up to the line, is going to improve by over a second. He's going to make it a 42 dead on, and that is going to be a very comfortable P4. About 0.4 of a second ahead of Crew Steamers, but that is not the end of the story. You have, for instance, Rapid Mini immediately going to be usurping him, 41.846. We've got the second Aston Martin coming in, URL Bazal, only car yet to put a time on the board, so it's now or never. If he wants to get something on this field, he has to do it now. Rapid Connor didn't quite get the run that he wanted, but Bazal is going to be 41.6, just 5 milliseconds behind P3, and a very solid job from him there.
Yeah, Battle goes up into P4, and in the end, I don't think that Sim Racer improved on his final run, so we'll stay in P3 just about. But it is Rabin who's on pole, fastest for him, and he picks up all 8 points for pole. Then it's Scorenzi in second place, and therefore he picks up 7. So just the 1 point swing in favour of Rabin in that qualifying session, and that's Sim Racer. Top 3 in the championship, top 3 in the session. He picks up 6th for third and keeps his slim championship hopes alive. Basil in P4, reigning champion, mixing it up with the current championship contenders with Rapid Mini improving at the end for P5. NZ Plays the only other driver within a second of Rabin in 6th, with Crew Steamers and Tintoretto making it an all-Williams 4th row of the grid. Trappy and Oliver James are on row 5, and then we've got Deboya, CJQ and Rapid Connor, who didn't set a representative lap time, on the at the back of the field. 13 cars that we racing around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit this evening. But really, in the end, big win for Rabin. He takes pole. He takes the point off of Scorenzi, and now it's a 4-point championship, Ben.
Yeah, and this could be very close indeed. Now, I wonder, I've been informed that we have a little bit of a technical issue, so I wonder if we're going to get a chance to resolve that. But saying that, it looks like we are going to be jumping on trackside almost immediately, so I don't really know how we're going to be having enough time to sort that out here. Let's just see. But yeah, quite an electrifying qualifying session, has to be said. I'm very impressed with how the racers have done so far. So we're going to go mute for just a second, folks. We'll be right back with you. We're just going to see how this is going on the back end and make sure that we have quality race ready for you to go.